Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo's weekly, semi-weekly Facebook Live. It is Rodeo Houston Live. I'm David Brady. I'll be your host this morning for the next few minutes, and our guest today will be the new chairman of the board of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, Brady Carruth, along with the new first lady of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, his wife, Zane Carruth. So we'll look forward to that conversation. It follows our conversation just a week ago with the outgoing chairman of the board and first lady, Jim Winnie, along with his wife, who joined us last week for the conversation. That was a lot of fun, and it was good to hear their thoughts on the transition that has happened here at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and all their great memories of being involved here in Houston. We're going to give everybody just a few more seconds to get on board and join us here for Rodeo Houston Live. As we do that, we remind you that we'd like for you to, in the comments section on Facebook, let us know where you're watching from today. Also, when we prompt you, there will be a few opportunities for you to give your favorite animal in an emoji, or maybe give a heart for certain aspects of what we're talking about. And then most importantly, to help increase the viewership of this event for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, we invite you to also create your own watch party. That helps increase viewership. Based on the algorithms of Facebook, it helps increase those people who are exposed to the great messages and the mission of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Just about ready to get started. And I will remind you that you are watching Rodeo Houston Live. Thanks for tuning in and be a part of it. Welcoming everybody from wherever you're watching us this morning. This week's episode, we're going to be talking with the newly appointed chairman of the board of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, Brady Carruth, along with his wife, Zane Carruth, the new first lady of Rodeo Houston. And there's been a lot of changes, and there's been some opportunities for the growth of the organization through some transition here with a new chairman, a new CEO and president, and lots of interesting things going on with the organization. So during this episode, we're going to get to know Brady and his wife, Zane, a little bit better. Brady's father, Alan Buddy Carruth, served as chairman of the board from 1979 to 1981. His mother, Ethel Carruth, was a past chair and passionate supporter of the rodeo's school art committee. Carruth first became a member of the rodeo all the way back in 1970. He joined the Lamb and Auction Committee in 1982 and became chair of that committee in 1996. In 1998, he was elected a rodeo vice president. Carruth has been a member of the rodeo's executive committee since 2013. He currently serves as the president of Gulf Coast Capital Corp and is heavily involved with several other Houston organizations. Let's now welcome onto the screen our new chairman of the board and first lady, Brady and Zane Carruth. Welcome, folks. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here. Good morning, everyone.
So let's hit the heart button on Facebook, on the emojis, for everybody who's excited for the new chair and the new first lady of the rodeo to join us. So Brady, let's start with you. Let's go all the way back to 1970. You must have been just a young pup, a young colt, when you became involved in the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Can you tell us how you got involved and what you were doing in those first few years?
Well, obviously, my father was very involved in the rodeo. He was a vice president, I think, about that time. I would have been 12 years old. So I really wasn't involved in the rodeo other than being an attendee. I remember my earliest memories are going to the Sam Houston Coliseum to see the rodeo, see great performers like Ben Cartwright and Dan Blocker and the Bonanza Gang and Gunsmoke, Matt Dillon. And that was very exciting for me as a kid. But my father also showed Santa Gertrudis cattle at the Coliseum and when we moved to the Astrodome in '66. So long history of doing that. I remember being in the parade when my father was a vice president, probably about in 1970. So that's where it all got started.
It's amazing to think back of all the performers that had been. I was just watching, reading something recently, and some old archival stories out of the Chronicle, and the actor who played Wyatt Earp was the key and featured performer at the rodeo one year. And you mentioned people like Dan Blocker from Bonanza and Gunsmoke characters. It was a fascinating cultural experience, and the Western heritage was really part of it. Do you have any favorite memories of those, like one or two favorite memories from before you became involved in 1970?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was always exciting to run down to the rail in the Coliseum when the performer would ride around on their horse at the conclusion of the performance and shake your hand, and you could shake hands with Matt Dillon, James Arness. One of the, I think Lassie headlined the performance at one point in time. I don't know how much we had to pay to get Lassie to come down, but probably not as much as George Strait.
Lassie definitely did come as the featured performer. I love hearing stories. My grandfather was involved a long time ago, back in those days, and great stories about Roy Rogers and Gene Autry that I get to hear from my dad. So, Zane, let's talk about you. How about your involvement in the rodeo, and how did that start?
My rodeo involvement has been very minimal. I mean, I would go to the rodeo as a kid, and I saw, Cher, Elvis Presley, some great shows, but I was not involved in the rodeo at all until I got involved with Brady, and I just kind of follow him around like a shadow. I'm not on any committees, but I thoroughly love it and enjoy it, and have met a tremendous amount of people that I believe will be lifelong friends.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about your background and some of the interesting things that you have going on in your life. Brady, let's talk a little bit about your role as chairman and how that came about, and it maybe just an overview, some of the things you're most interested in digging into a little bit deeper now as chair.
Well, as everybody knows, the world has kind of turned upside down in the past 6 months. And, from last year's show being canceled early, very unfortunate, very heartbreaking for everybody involved. Going to cause a lot of financial strain on our organization. So hopefully we'll get that all turned around coming up in 2021. We are planning on a full show, making plans to see if we don't have a full show, what does that mean? And there's a lot of things that we need to examine as a show. We do a great job with scholarships, and we've gotten a lot more organized on how we give our scholarships away and how we track our scholarship recipients. We also, we have a grant program. We need to look at that. The rodeo is really very healthy, but we need to really examine how we are going to utilize our funds. We have a great new staff member, Peter McStravick, working on long-range planning. Really excited about some of the concepts they've come up with to expand our facilities, primarily off-site, to kind of relieve some of the congestion at the rodeo, and give us a year-round presence, not just a 20-day presence.
So a lot of changes I want to get to and come back to this in just a little bit, but I want to check in with some of the folks tuning in. We've got a lot of folks from Houston, obviously, but Hallsville, Texas, checking in, Hondo, Texas, Jackson, Mississippi, Tyler, Texas. We've got a viewer from Brazil, Hempstead, Brazoria. We've got the east side of Houston checking in. Let's see, Alaska, Kingsville, Flatonia, Fort Bend, another Mississippian tuning in. We've got Miami, Fort Worth, Lake Charles, Highland Haven, another Louisianan, Austin, League City, Tomball, North Carolina, checking in as well. Bryan, Falls County, Magnolia. So lots of people are tuning in, excited to hear what you guys have to say. Let's talk about volunteer committees and the role of the volunteer of the organization. What is your feelings as chair, the importance of the volunteer? Obviously, you've been involved for 50 years, so you obviously know a lot about the volunteer committees, but what is your feeling about the volunteers and what they bring to the organization?
Well, it's great. And, we talk about this a lot, and it is true that the rodeo is like a family. And, people, we may bicker as a family a little bit, but, God help you if you criticize from outside our family. So, and each committee has its own culture and their own family environment, and they're so valuable to us on so many fronts. The work they do, the money they raise, and the money they spend. I mean, our volunteers spend a tremendous amount of money at the rodeo, at our auctions, and buying tickets. They are really the backbone of the show.
Let's. We were just talking. You I wasn't expecting you to go so deep into those old time performers, but as I started thinking about it, we've got a lot of viewers that have a great history of the rodeo. Let's on the comments section, let's chime in with some of those favorite old time performances. I'll tell you I remember coming to the rodeo before this. I don't remember the artist, but the first artist that really sticks out for me was Elvis in 1974. And it was only till I came to work here that I started doing more research. That phenomenal to see that he played multiple shows. In fact, I think he played twice at the rodeo, 70 and 74, I think, or 71 and 74. And one of those, he made 6 different appearances during the same rodeo, 6 performances in one rodeo run. So just phenomenal. Or maybe it's 6 total, 4 and 1. I can't remember the total, but so let's, in the comments section, let's include some of your favorite old time performers. Zane, what about you? Is there a favorite performer for you that stands out?
I'm probably going to have to go with Elvis, because who still doesn't say Elvis Presley has left the building? I mean, that's just kind of universal now. But no, I loved him, and I loved Sonny and Cher.
There were some great R&B acts back in those days too. Sonny and Cher, pop. And then the Jackson 5 performed at the rodeo as well. So, hey, Brady, I know education is a big piece of what you're looking forward to, focusing on. One of the many things you'll focus on as chairman. Zane, you have a strong tie to education. You've written, I know, of 2 books, and I think you have a 3rd maybe coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started writing children's books and a little bit about those books?
Well, it's a trademark series about the Tooth Fairy, and it just kind of happened by accident. I picked up a spiral notebook one day and just started writing, not thinking about the Tooth Fairy, but the stories just kind of write themselves. And I self-published, so that's a very laborious process, and takes a lot of work. Takes about a year to put together a book once you write it, and then you work with the illustrator. But I've had a lot of fun with it, and I've been very fortunate that I've been able to give a ton of books away, books between kids, and I'm involved in some sort of initiative with the rodeo about books and kids. That's going to be great. So I've enjoyed that, and I feel like I am contributing because everybody loves the Tooth Fairy. They're easy to read. They're beautiful pictures. They're heirloom books. So they've been very popular, and I'm very proud of them, and I'm going to keep writing it. My next one, after this one drops in October, will be about the rodeo. My little fairy will go to the rodeo, and she'll have a big time.
What inspired you to write about the Tooth Fairy?
I don't know. I always pretended to play with the Tooth Fairy when I was little. And I don't know. I think girls just like tooth fairies, wands, magic. Like I said, the books just write themselves. So, but that's all I ever really want to write about is the Tooth Fairy, because I'm developing the characters, and Bella's best friend was patterned after my best friend growing up, and Bella's patterned after my daughter. So I have an emotional investment in these books.
So we've got some folks chiming in with their favorite old-time artists at the rodeo. Roy Rogers of the Coliseum. I see a Rod Stewart on here, which I did not realize Rod Stewart played the rodeo. Olivia Newton-John, I was at that show as well when she first came here. There's a great story about that. She was booked here before she really broke out, but between the time she was booked and when she performed, she became the biggest star in the country, maybe the world at that point. And I think the rodeo may have gotten her at a really good price. So Casey and the Sunshine Band. Let's see. Another Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. Let's see. Lots of good stuff here. And I guess everybody's also looking forward to who's going to be announced for 2021, but that's under wraps as it's being worked on right now. Brady, we talked about education. We know Zane's tie. She just connected us to that. What about you? What are you looking to see for the rodeo to do and continue to support education? Why is that important to you, and what do you hope to accomplish when it comes to education?
Well, when we do a great job with our scholarship program, like I said, but I think we need to start looking further down in the education process. If kids don't read by the 3rd grade, they have no chance. We need to make sure that those kids from pre-K in first, second, and third grade, have every opportunity to learn. If you don't set them up for success, then it's awfully difficult to get them going again. So we need to find some way for our show to get more involved in our city in the education process, and funding some initiatives to help kids at a very young age. The ones who we reward with scholarships, they're going to make it. They're graduating from high school. They're usually pretty good students, and they're going to make it in life. The ones that are really at risk are the younger kids, and I'd like to see us figure out a way to get more involved in that process. There are a lot of people with a lot of great ideas. It's just vetting them and see where we would fit into the process.
One of the interesting things I learned when coming on board here at the rodeo is about the book drive, which I was aware of, but to find out the total amount of books that are donated each year, and the committee that works so hard to put that together. So it's really amazing. So we're talking today on Rodeo Houston Live with the new chairman of the board of Rodeo Houston, Brady Carruth, and the new incoming First Lady, Zane Carruth. Zane, did outgoing First Lady Linda Winnie have any words of advice to offer you on the role?
Yes, she just said, enjoy it. It goes so fast. Just enjoy it. And I think she's going to be right. Yes, because just when we shadowed them, those few performances, it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. They were very gracious in helping us learn the ropes and just kind of figuring things out. I mean, it abruptly ended way too soon, but we got a lot of training, but we'll see how it goes.
Brady, how about you? Did Jim Winnie have any sage words of advice for you?
A lot along the same lines as what Zane was saying. And they were very gracious and allowed us to shadow them around and show us. I mean, even though I've been out there 40 years, there are a lot of things you don't know that go on at the chairman level. And I've made this comment before. They drop you in. The machine's already running at 100 miles an hour when they drop you into it. So you better get going and get up to speed, or it's going to get away from you.
All right, so I'm going to put you on the hot seat here. I did this with Jim last week. Let's talk about some of the committees. I'm going to get you in trouble. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to ask you for your favorite committees, but I know you're on the Lamb Auction Committee. What other committees have you engaged with deeply that you have? You get. I'm going to be politically correct here. Tell me about some of the committees you've been involved in and some of the fun stuff you've done with those committees.
Well, as you said, I started on the Lamb Committee, and it happened quite by accident. When my father was chairman, a couple of his officers, I ran into them in a beer joint on Bissonnet in 1981, and they said, "Hey, get on the Lamb Committee." I was just graduating from school, and so I said, "Okay." So that's how I got started. And I always have a soft spot in my heart for the School Art Committee. My mother was involved with it from the very beginning. She loved it, and the same reason I love it is it gives kids an opportunity to participate in the rodeo, even if you can't raise an animal or catch a calf. So a lot of different students and a tremendous number of students, 300,000 kids it touches every year, and it's a great committee. There's so many great committees out there, and I love the people on all of them. The parade is good. Get to see all those folks downtown. We put on a tremendous parade. The work that breeders, greeters folks do, getting animals in and out of there. And you talk to kids who come show, or families that come show, and they say that our show is like no other. They get treated so much better here than anywhere else where they show. And so they're really thrilled to come see us every year. And so those guys, there's so many people that put on show. It is very unfair of you, David, to make me have to pick some. So
I like to put you on the hot seat. It's fun. It's fun for me to watch the chairman squirm and the president CEO squirms. The last of these interviews is my chance to get at you a little. So, hey, let's hear from all those committee members. Let us know what committee you serve on and maybe how long you've been on that committee. People still giving us their location, where they're watching from, and their favorite artists. We've got Kenny Rogers, Hank Jr., Charlie Pride. Rod Stewart getting another vote. I wish I'd have known and been here for that show. Willie getting another vote. Oak Ridge Boys, Alabama. Mary J. Blige, John Legend, Cardi B. Let's see. Got School Art Committee checking in. We've got the folks, the Blankenburg Ranch always checks in. They're always watching every Rodeo Houston live. Mo Bandy and Bon Jovi, Bob Nelson, one guy. That you think about the dichotomy, the ends of the spectrum. Bon Jovi and Mo Bandy are pretty out there. Ticket Service Committee chiming in. Hi to Debbie from Colorado. We've got a viewer from the Netherlands. So very active group today. Very active group. Brady, let's talk a little bit about the future again, but let's think beyond COVID-19. Let's think your 3 years as chairman. So COVID-19 off the table for the moment. What are the things you want to see happen? What are some of the goals that you have as your 3 years as chairman of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo?
Well, the education initiatives, I'd like to see us work on those. I'd like to see us take a closer look at the funds we have, our rainy day funds, which are substantial. Of course, we just had a very rainy day, so some of those will be going away. And then kind of master planning our campus, whether it's at 288 or on the old Astor World property, and how we can utilize those assets to spread our show out a little bit, and to, make it a more welcoming place to be. When we get over 150,000 people on the grounds, it tends to get a little not as good as an experience as we would like it to be. And then engaging the whole community is something else we need to work on. We have to make sure that we appeal to all segments of our community. And I think the entertainer is a good way to start that. Let's find the right entertainment so everybody has something they want to go see when they come to the rodeo. Not everybody wants to see George Strait, incredibly popular, but certain segments of our community probably not all that excited about it. So we need to figure out who we need to have as an entertainment package, so people will come out and join us at the rodeo.
Who would not want to see George Strait? That's what I'm really want to know.
Not the 80,000 people that show up every time he's here.
Yeah, and we would probably have 80,000 for 20 shows if so desired. So he is the king, right? Well, Bob Wills is the king, but George is pretty darn close. So, hey, on those, I'm going to get in trouble now because I'm not going to get to all of these committees, but I'm going to try a little bit. School Art Committee, Richard on School Art Committee, Jennifer from Corral Club, Debbie, she's watching Colorado, Tabitha for Ticket Services Committee, Steve from Judging Contest Committee, Tammy from the Houston Metro Go Texans. She's been on 10 years and she's on School Art Auction. She's been there for 4 years. Richard on the Speakers Committee. I think I mentioned that. Andrea from Breeders Greeters. Maria from Rodeo Express. Amy from the Recycling Committee, 11 years on that committee. Souvenir Program Committee, that's Keith. He just rolled off as a chairman, I believe. Kathleen on Corral Club. I'm going to get in trouble because I'm not going to mention all these. 35,000 volunteers. It's amazing how this organization runs. In 1970, would you ever thought that this organization would end up at 35,000 volunteers and 2.5 million people coming to the show each year?
No, I mean, you never would have thought that. I mean, even going back to when I was an officer, I'm not sure exactly how many volunteers we had. I think it was somewhere in the 14,000 range, and to have it, 2.5 times that now is incredible. It's incredible growth. It's a model that people want to try and replicate worldwide, of how you get that many people to do the things they do, to come out and work for free. at the rodeo, and it's just I think it's cultural. It's because it's a family atmosphere, and it's just people ask you all the time, how do you get those people to stand in a parking lot and wave a flashlight at 2 a.m, and they do. I mean, it's incredible, and so many of those committees do such wonderful work, but I never would have seen it get to this level.
Because people actually take their vacations to get their hours in. That's how committed they are, and love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, you said it right, Brady. There have been lots of organizations that have come to Houston to try and create the model to take back to their city, their community, to replicate, and it just can't be done. The 35,000 volunteers didn't happen overnight. It was organic, and the effort they put into it is simply amazing. And we saw the passion this year, the sadness from closing the show, but the passion for the show as well, which was heartwarming, to say the least. Hey, Greg Schroeder, who served with you as an officer, is looking forward to your 3 years and excited and really happy for you. We've got Brad from the Ranching and Wildlife, also Calf Scramble Donors Committee. Richard from Calf Scramble, he's been involved for over 40 years. Nicole, 10 years on the wine competition. So this keeps going on and on and on. Hey, rodeo, one of the things that really amazes me is how much time and effort that the chair puts into this organization. The chair is a volunteer position. You're not paid for this role that you're going to have for 3 years, yet you have an office here at the rodeo offices, and I assume we'll see you here a lot, just as Mr. Winnie was here a lot. Takes up a lot of time, so that's going to cut into what the two of you like to do together, I'm guessing, a little bit. But what do you guys like to do outside of rodeo stuff? Zane, what keeps you guys excited and energized outside of the rodeo work?
Well, the one thing we share is thoroughbred horse racing. We have a horse, and we have a little colt, and we're going to have another one. And we thoroughly enjoy going to Saratoga Springs in the summer to watch the races. Although this year, you have to quarantine if you're coming from Texas. So that kind of knocks us out of the ballpark. But that's what we enjoy doing together. I mean, we have grandsons and we do other stuff. Brady loves Vegas. Who doesn't? But that's what we really enjoy is our horse racing friends and our giant boxer, and that's our boxer, and the other little one that's on its way.
Well, everybody's coming up with creative and new things they're doing during this time where we're all kind of locked in and not getting to go out much. Have you guys done anything interesting or different during this last 3 or plus months?
Well, we moved. We lived in Galveston for a couple of months while everything was shut down here in town, which was kind of fun.
We're in a high rise,
so
that's a lot of work.
We feel like we're kind of trapped a little bit living in a high rise. So having been able to get out and move around, it was great, and it was really fun being down there. And but I needed more action than that, so we have to come back to town just to see everybody.
It's hard. I think there's lots of challenges that have come up in the past few months. I think that's one of them, right? Learning to cope and deal with the limitations that have been put on us. As far as the limitations that have been put on the rodeo, do you feel like everything is still moving in the right direction despite the staff working from home and the committees having to limit their activity right now? Do you feel good about the movement and where we're going for 2021?
I think so. We were about 30 days ago. We were very optimistic about cranking back up the offices and the committee work. Of course, things moved adversely to what we wanted to do since that time. But we're doing the safety and health of our employees, our volunteers, and the public has always got to be in front of our brain and first on our list. So we're doing what we have to do. Don't like it, but we're doing what we have to do to hopefully get this thing behind us so we can come out and have a great show in 2021.
So 2021 is just Well, it seems like it's a long way off. It's not, and especially for the chairman of the board. With this transition with the new president, CEO, and Dr. Chris Bowman coming on board, and you coming on board as the new chair, what makes you most excited about the movement, the transition, and the newness that's happening now?
Well, you know, Chris and I talk obviously very often, but we're the two new kids on the block. I mean, we're both going through this as rookies and not knowing the full slate of everything we need to get accomplished, and we're just, you know, relying on others and on the staff to help us usher us along a little bit. Chris has a lot of energy and is great to work with, and really looking forward to working with him. His communication style is great. He over communicates in an effort not to under communicate. So he does a great job. He's on top of things. Really looking forward to working with Chris.
Well, he definitely has a lot of energy, and in sports, he would be called a high motor guy. And I'm gonna make fun of him a little bit. I went back and watched our staff town hall meeting, and as I was watching him speak, I thought I had accidentally set it to 1.5 speed, but that was just his normal personality. He was going at normal rate. Hey, we're going to wrap it up now, but before we go, I want to ask Brady one question. When you think about the rodeo, what do you love most about the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo?
Well, just how much we've accomplished. You know, we're a 90-year-old organization. We've given away over $500 million into scholarships in the kids, and which is really, really amazing. And you know, it's a great sense of pride in such a big organization that does so much good for our city and the surrounding area. And I think we're unmatched by any other organization, you know, nationwide in what we do and the impact we have. And we do everything for the right reason.
And Zane, before we wrap up, one last question. It'd be like a regular TV show, like The View. You're not here to do this, but I'm going to do it. You've got a new book coming out in October. You want to tell us about that one more time?
Oh, yes. It's called Bella Starts a Tooth Fairy School, because the demand for teeth is quite large now that she brought that one back. So she decided she needs to train all the other little fairies so they can get their own teeth. So it's just about her little school and she and Darcy doing, and you know, there's usually a little bit of drama in all books, but it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun. It'll come out in October.
What's the best place for people to find it?
Oh, the website, worldsfirsttoothfairy.com, or Amazon. Amazon has it. And they're at various bookstores. It's on the River Oaks bookstore in San Antonio, of course, some in New York, and quite a few bookstores. And all that's on my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us today on Rodeo Houston Live. Brady, I'm very much looking forward to working with you. Zane, looking forward to seeing you at the rodeo this year, or throughout the offices and meetings, but also at the rodeo, and looking forward to a great future. Brady, Zane, thanks.
Great. Thank you, David.
Thanks for watching Rodeo Houston Live. We appreciate it and look forward to talking next time. Until we do, be safe and be healthy.